either prevent disease or treat disease? You know, like what should a person do?
Yeah, I think that's such an important question. So I think at this time when people are in January and maybe they've put on some weight, so just from a very practical standpoint, I think my first message is there's a lot of hope. So my message is always one of empowerment. So no matter where you find yourself in the process, and even if you're feeling maybe guilty about what you've eaten or what your weight might be at this point, I think hopefully once you understand the framework, it will give you a sense of agency to take better control of your health. So the way I like to understand health is for us to just take a step back and get away from thinking about our body and our mind as the siloed structure in space. And I think the most important thing is to realize is that we are a system. Our body is an ecosystem in itself, and I'll get into the details of that in a bit. But we are also part of this bigger ecosystem, which is our planet. And it also really helps to think about our evolution. So through millions of millennia as hunter-gatherers out in the wild, Mother Nature designed an incredibly intelligent system within our bodies to help optimize health. And so what happened was, as hunter-gatherers, we had to get acclimated to the Earth's rotation, right? So 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness. And we also had to be out and about getting food, and we had to be really active. And there was sort of this uncertainty about, when we might be able to come upon food, whether that was any animal food or mostly the plant foods that we were foraging for. And so our body developed in such a way to coordinate both our growth processes, so our anabolic processes, things that build our muscle and other organs and systems, versus our rest and repair systems, which are equally important. And so it makes sense to do all of the anabolic or the growth processes during the daytime when we're awake and we're eating food. And then in the night when it's dark and you're not able to do all of those activities, you sleep and you restore your body. So this is sort of the basic underlying mechanism of what's called a circadian rhythm. So we've developed this amazing rhythm, biorhythm in our body that moves in sync with the biorhythm of the earth around us. And so just very broadly, when we wake up in the morning, so our circadian rhythms are synced to light and food. Those are the two main triggers. And so these 12-hour cycles usually come into play in the morning. So the first bright light that hits our eye, and I can go into as much detail as you want, but basically it stimulates what's called this master clock, which is the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is sort of the area in the brain behind where the two optic nerves cross. And so we have these light receptors called melanopsin in our retina. And so this first bright light that hits our eyes, that signal goes to the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is sort of the master circadian clock. And this is located close to the hypothalamus in the brain, which is a part of the brain that regulates our sleep-wake cycles, our hunger and our thirst, our body temperature, but also all of our hormonal systems. And so as you can imagine, these stimuli, they sort of trigger these systems which come into play, which means all of these hundreds of thousands of metabolic reactions that are occurring in our cells, the hormone systems in our body. And then it turns out, and by the way, all of this is information and research based on Dr. Sachin Panda's work. And he's a research scientist at the Salk Institute. So I would highly recommend people to go to his site and check out his work. It's been pretty revolutionary. And it turns out that not only do we have this master clock, every one of our organ systems, so our gut, our liver, our heart, our lungs, our muscles, our immune system, each have their own internal clock and rhythm as well. And by these clocks, what I mean is that how our genes in these cells are expressed. When do these genes come on? And genes code for proteins that are important for our growth and repair. And when do they turn off? So if you think of it, it's like this beautiful orchestra in the body.